Let's go. Welcome to the First State Kopites podcast. It's a podcast, as we always talk about, for Liverpool fans in Delaware and friends of those Liverpool fans in Delaware. Thanks for listening to us on your preferred platform. We are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and we're still available on YouTube. We occasionally get a view or two. It's probably preferred to go to the listening only, but anyway, let's move on. This week we are joined by some people who've obviously passed the test of last week's podcast. We talked about having to perform a certain way and making sure you weren't corrupting the offside trap. It's only relevant if you listened last week. Sean's back this week. And of course, we've got Haitham and Daz. And at some point, Enrique is going to join us too. And for people who are only listening, people were waving at me. So thank you very much. Let's go. So obviously this week we're going to talk about Manchester City. Big game yesterday. We're recording this on October 4th now. And we played the 7th game in the Premier League and we tied 2-2 with Manchester City. It's a pretty good game. We'll get talking about that. Before the game, people paid tribute, actually in all of the Premier League games, to Sir Roger Hunt, who's Liverpool striker in the 60s. Most of the people, I'm sure, watching to the podcast will not remember him. They may have seen some YouTube clips. But what we're going to try and do is to tap into other people's stories and maybe one or two of mine, because I did actually, I think, see him play when I was obviously a little younger than I am now. So if anyone has a story, and I think, Daz, you did have a story, let's go with that. I mean, it's hard. I think I tweeted on our one of our accounts that he was to the 60s what Rush was to the 80s, and what Salah is to this team now. Just an unbelievably kind of present player who scored a lot of goals.
He probably would have made a good James Bond. I feel like he had kind of like that dynamic ruggedness to him. That's kind of, I could definitely see him drinking a martini. But my story was, it came from my dad by way of my grandfather. So my grandfather was at Liverpool the same time that Sir Roger was there. He was a youth player when my grandfather was there. And the story that my dad tells, that he was told to him by my grandfather, was that as a youth player, every year they'd let a certain number of kids go to be like, and invite other clubs to come and pick them up. And he was one of the guys on the list, and no one came for him. And I forget who the coach was. And he said, you know what, we'll give him another year to prove himself. And the rest is history. Yeah. So I think he used to use that as a way to try and tell my dad, like, you never really, if you have talent and you have desire, you're never truly out of it. And you hear stories like this from other players as well, but this one specifically about, it could have been the guy that almost was. And for us, he is the guy that is. So it's like everything you hear about him it was always positive. He seemed like a genuinely nice person. And I think that he was pretty well loved, as you can see by the outpouring from across the country. Yeah. And it also helped out he was part of that 66 England team.
Yeah. I'm sure that's a large part of why they had the kind of remembrance across all of the grounds. Although my kind of memories, which are a bit transmitted through my dad, are a little bit different. Than it's less about the World Cup and more about what he did specifically for Liverpool. But I can't get past the martinis, because he was born somewhere just outside Wigan. Wigan is not one of those glamorous places in England. I think the town he came from was a mining town. And he definitely doesn't look like someone who came from a mining town
at all.
His photos, right? Yeah. So, so Sean, Haitham, if you have anything to share, I'll go with kind of one more thing. What it did seem to in the 60s was, if there was an important game and Liverpool needed a goal, then he was the guy who scored it. Like he scored in the FA Cup final, the first FA Cup final Liverpool won. I think he scored 2 or 3 goals the first time Shankly's team won a Division One title in the final game, and perhaps my biggest memory, because I used to have this scrapbook of like I cut out pictures and like stories from all of Liverpool's games. I've no idea where this thing is now. Probably got trashed by somebody along the way. But Liverpool could not beat Leicester City to save their lives in all sorts of different circumstances. And I think we played them in an FA Cup tie, probably it might have been in that 65 run. And the guy, of course, who scored the winning goal, who beat Gordon Banks, who was the goalkeeper, who made that famous save with Pele, won the World Cup with England. Goal, of course, came from Sir Roger Hunt, christened by the Kop, just to be clear, Sean, not by anyone in London or from other parts of England.
No royalty.
No. I don't know if you saw the banner yesterday. Did you see the banner?
No. Yeah, I did. It was knighted by the Kop, right?
Yeah, knighted by the Kop. Yeah.
The only royalty that matters.
Yes. Any thoughts?
So the only story that I have, other than what Sean's burner account has shared with all of us, is so I have a good friend that lives in Brighton and in the UK, and he grew up, close to Liverpool and what they were doing in the 60s, just because his father, I think, was a Liverpool fan. I think he's a Brighton fan now, but he still fancies Liverpool. So that's kind of one of the connections that we both share. But this weekend, he sent me a message basically telling me how he idolized Roger Hunt growing up, and he has these, memories of him in the World Cup scoring. I think he scored like 3 goals in the World Cup that year.
He did, apparently. Yeah.
So that's I guess that's my only, obviously outside highlights, maybe on LFC TV and on YouTube. I did not grow up watching him. But then one thing that really stuck out to me was the fact that he scored 41 goals in 41 games in 1961, and they were still in the second division. I think they got promoted to because of those 41 goals. Basically, they got promoted to the first division in 62. I think the 62 season. But that's phenomenal. And the other piece of it too is until Salah, broke his record. It was a couple of weeks ago. He had the fastest number of games to get to 100. Yeah. So, obviously just major, because not a lot of people are doing what he did. And nowadays it's like, it's from another planet whenever something like that happens.
Yeah. So there is, if you kind of go back and read, there is kind of so much about his records. What I hadn't appreciated actually was that he scored more league goals than Ian Rush, even though Rush scored more goals for Liverpool, which was surprising to me, because I think Rush scored like 360 or something. I could be exaggerating that slightly, and I think Hunt was a 285, but still, just mad numbers.
Yeah, I think he scored 242 goals for Liverpool in the league.
Okay. Yep.
Out of I think it's the number of games is basically, I think the ratio is 1-2, so he scores once every two matches.
Yeah,
which is phenomenal.
We may talk about the current generation's equivalent next, but Sean, final thoughts on Sir Roger Hunt?
Just, if anybody hasn't watched any clips, I'd encourage you to go on YouTube and check it out. I had heard, just in the past when I've listened to or read about the history of the club, his name always popped up, and I didn't, I guess I learned more about him this week. But I saw a few people say that he was, one of the first modern, football players that they'd ever seen. And, so one of the goals that he scored, I think it was in one of the cup finals, was, pretty amazing, volley, the cross comes at his chest and he hits this pretty unbelievable volley. And so, he was one of the players that the club was really built on. You know, and I thought back to there's that quote that Shankly, I think it was from Shankly, who said, you know, it takes 10 men to carry the piano and one to play it. Well, like, you know, Roger Hunt would have been the one playing it basically most of the time. So you know, yeah, it was, you know, sad that you know, he passes away, but it's nice that everybody gets to learn a little bit more about our club and about, you know, one of the great players. So
yeah, for sure.
Debonair. That's the term I'm looking for. He was debonair. You could see him jumping out of a sock with camel with his silk scarf, having shut down 15 Red Barons.
the other thing that's kind of amazing, I heard somebody say, is that, you know, if you think about Liverpool in that era and playing in that team, it would have been very easy for him to get caught up, you know, in the wrong things. But I guess, you know, apparently he was married with kids, and he never kind of went the route that George Best and, you know, some others did. But, you know, so more credit to him there too.
Drink Canada dry, so I thought I'd give it a shot.
I think he played in South Africa too, Daz, towards the end of his career, if I'm not
May well have.
mistaken. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I know Ian St. John did.
Yeah. So there is no question, I think, that that we, well, there is no question. Peter Moore's actually said on a thing I listened to the other day that we're not able to watch Liverpool at the level they are now if it had not been for that team in the 60s. Of which clearly he was an integral part. I'm going to end this segment with, I may have shared this before, but as a kid growing up in Liverpool, there's a suburb called Hunts Cross. And have I shared this with you before? Anyway, seriously, there's a suburb called Hunts Cross. And I always thought that referred to the pass he made to Ian St. John to score the winning goal in the 1965 Cup final. Apparently it's not. But anyway, it should be. It should be. Hunts Cross and St. John's goal. Yeah. FA Cup final in 1965. Okay. Wow. Rest in peace, Roger Hunt. So let's bring ourselves up to date. Let's dabble a bit in the Porto match. I don't know if everyone saw the Porto match, but if you kind of, it was a bit weird, actually. I found some of the coverage of the game, given, you know, we'd obviously failed miserably in beating Brentford, and then suddenly we'd become world beaters again. Felt like their goalie might have helped us out a little, but there were some really good performances. But Haitham, I'm going to start with you. Podcast, you said it will be harder than the last time, and I'm picking on you, but I agreed with you. I think so.
I did say that, and again, you know, just based like what I was saying in the last episode, based on their form there before. I know Juventus was not that good, but still, Champions League is Champions League, and you don't make it that far if you're not doing something or two, you know, positive. So I just and you know, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so 5-0
Yep.
and 4-1. Same stadium, you know, it's not going to happen 3 times in a row. It just it doesn't make sense. So yeah, and you know, just, you know, I thought we would win, but it wasn't going to be that easy. But I guess, you know, and again, you know, if you look at it from the other side of things, their team was, I think they had a couple of defenders that were out. Pepe was out.
They did.
Although he's old and he's not the same player from before. And then the goalie, but we played well. I mean, it was well deserved. Yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, I can't lie.
Yeah.
I did not think in a million years it was going to be that easy. The 3rd time in a row. So.
And actually, the 4-1 was not an easy match, certainly compared to this one. So it's kind of weird. But so I'll go to you next, Daz. It felt shades of 27-18, didn't it? In that game, I felt like I don't know. Coutinho made a guest appearance, I think, at one point.
Well, for me, it was my favorite part is we go 3 up, and they have the temerity to put one in. And they're like, "Oh, that's it. Have this." I felt like, and I know we talked about Curtis, I believe, in the last episode. It was like, it just felt like a real statement game for him. And I did feel a little sorry for him yesterday because you came crashing back down to earth very quickly when you realized that there are teams that will make you run and make you work harder for your money than those guys will. But it was kind of a consummate performance. I was hoping that Bobby would carry over his performance from like his cameo at the end of that game into the one against the City yesterday. And I feel like I don't think that he had as big an influence on it as he did. And there's arguments that I know that there are arguments that are valid to say that he's much better as a starter than he is as a sub, and vice versa for Jota, that he's better coming on when the defense is a little softer in the middle. But swings and roundabouts and all that, there's not really much else you can say other than it was just a straight pounding. Like, it's when we went 3 up, then we throttled back a little bit, let them back in, and we're like, nah, we're not having this, and then he just like completely took it out of sight for them. It's one of those big European performances. I don't think it's going to be downhill like it is again, like it was that against as it's going to be against Atletico. But hey, man, it's nice to get your tails up. I talked to my dad about this, and there is some validity to this. Like, sometimes hammering a team like that before you go into a big game against a team like City is not always a great thing. You do get your tails up, but sometimes it's a little too far up, and you really big bollocks it into the first 5 minutes of another game, and then you're like, well, this is a completely different match. As everyone will tell you, you're only as good as your last performance.
If I remember correctly, the same thing happened the first 5-zip. We had a tough match after, I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't an easy match in the league. After the first 5-0 beatdown from a few years ago. Can't remember. I'll have to go back and look at it, but it just like I said, it just felt like deja vu.
Yeah. Well, that's very likely to be true, because 2017 we were not the machine we became in the subsequent 2 years in terms of kind of getting 97 and whatever it was, 99 points. I do think. So I'll go to you next, Sean. I do think that there's something about the way Porto play that somehow seems to suit the way. And I know the goalie could have done a lot better with but it really did feel like we weren't 5 better than them, on paper, but there's something about the way they set up just played into our hands.
Yeah, their goalie plays on the national team for Portugal, I think, which is kind of surprising. Maybe he just had a bad day at the office. I don't know. He was terrible though. I didn't see the match live. I was tied up at work, but watched back some highlights, and I did look. It does seem like not having their center backs was pretty critical for them. Just going back and looking there, I think their center backs and their right back were the 3 players with the most passing attempts, and they were all below 70%. So clearly, our high press was too much for them to deal with. And then I think on our side, Virgil and Joel and maybe Robbo might have had the most attempts, and they were all over 90%. So like Dad said, it was just we just I don't know. We're just a bogey team for them for whatever reason, because I don't think they've conceded very many goals. They might have not conceded any goals this year in their league or something like that. I mean, normally they're a very tough team, even in Europe, and we just smash them every time. I don't know what it is, but it's nice. And then obviously Curtis's performance, he was amazing. And it's this week it's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty clear that he's a young player, but that Porto match sort of shows you the talent that's there. And we'll get on to the Man City match, but it's a tough ask for a 20-year-old who's not necessarily used to playing that role that we asked them to play, to step in there and play 2 games like that in 4 days. Second one being against one of the best teams in the world. So, hopefully there's more of the Porto version of Curtis to come.
So let's move on then to talk about the City game. I think there's a lot to talk about. Although I do have to finish on my absolute favorite moment was the time that Curtis took to make the pass for Salah's second goal. And you could say, like, what were they doing, thinking that they should leave Salah on his own? But he drew a lot of those players to him, and then the lane opened up. I really, that was my favorite moment.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys. Sorry, Paul. I don't know if you watched the Atletico Barcelona match from yesterday.
Oh, I didn't know. No.
Yeah. So
What are you doing watching Spanish football?
Yeah.
What are you doing watching Spanish football?
I didn't have anything better to do.
Just let the hate flow.
For someone that
No,
hates Spanish football, you watch more than I do.
Yeah.
No, I enjoy it. I knew Barcelona was going to get destroyed, and I always enjoyed Barcelona getting destroyed. But Suarez scored the same goal as Salah's second, I think. Basically, they just left him alone, and it was a fast break, and he was by himself. I was like, I just saw this last week, but it was the same goal, everything. The fact that no one was tracking where he was by himself, and he got it, and he was alone with the goal lead.
So an interesting statistic too. I don't know how true this is, but I think since they moved into their new stadium, we have accounted for 21% of the goals that they conceded.
Because they don't concede very much against other teams. We just score 5 against them every time we play.
That is remarkable. That is remarkable. I want to go with another comment and stat from the Benfica coach actually this weekend. So you'll enjoy this, Haitham. Apparently, before the game, he said, I can't remember who they were playing. It's some like lower. They're like in the Portuguese top league, but they're not a named team. He's like, they're going to cause more problems than Barcelona. And the whole thing was like, he was absolutely right. They lost 1-0 to this team, having beaten Barcelona 3-0. So, I mean, I kind of remember.
It's music to my ears.
So, well, I'm sure we could have a whole show on the trials and tribulations of Barcelona.
I can sum it up in one sentence: they're shite. Moving on.
But Ronald Koeman's still going to be the manager. Yes, let's talk about a higher level of football that we saw yesterday. So much to discuss. I'll go around the same order. So I'll start with you, Haitham. I'm not going to talk about Foden yet because I think Sean has some opinions about him, which I may not agree with. But honestly, Mo Salah running down the wing. There he was on the running alongside the lower. I need to talk about this. The lower Kenny, which is the basically the lower tier of the oldest stand in the stadium. The song was most appropriate, and he was absolutely awesome. You can start there.
Yeah. I that goal was. And people say it's similar to the goal that he scored against Tottenham. What was it? 18, 19, I think. It was kind of the same where, he tried to go past, I can't remember who it was, Dyer or
Can I correct one thing? There was no try. He went past all of those people.
Yeah. No, so with that one, there was like a handball, I think. The one against Tottenham,
Yeah.
But you look at this, and there's a video. I think Sean, you posted it. There was a video that the club put up on their YouTube channel, and it's all angles for like 5 minutes basically of the goal. And that touch, the first touch, when he went past Silva, put him on the floor. I mean, that was skill basically. There was no let me try this or try that. That was just I'm doing this to you and you're going down. And then I think you mentioned Laporte. Was it you that mentioned Laporte and how I heard somewhere before the match that maybe it was, I don't know, on TV or something, that the person was saying that Laporte was a weak link, and he showed it actually yesterday. But yeah, that was a great goal. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't only the goal, even the whole play for the first goal, and the assist to Mane, that was fantastic too. And it was just one of those things, like, I don't know, last year, not last year, last year was shite, like Daz would say.
It was.
But the year before, and the back and forth between the two of them, and Mane's not happy with Salah, Salah is not happy with Mane. But this was just a display of how good those two are, and how what beauty they can produce, playing with each other. But regarding Salah, I've watched the metamorphosis per se, from him. I think, I don't know, a couple of years ago, whatever, 9 out of 10 times, that ball he would either, shank it, or so one of the defenders would, just take it from him or something like that. But that touch, to me, displayed his ascendance to being the player that he could have always been. So it was great to watch. Other things about the match, the first half made me sick. I could barely watch it. I was not believing what I was watching. I mean, I knew the City's press game and all of that stuff, and that was expected. That's what they do. They keep the ball, and their possession is always high. But it just felt like we did not know what to do with the ball, even when we got it back, and one pass and it was gone back to City.
So Sean and I are going to explain all of that away with all the analysis that we have read today about the game.
Yeah,
The first half was a bit of an anomaly, and there were different things going on. But
yeah. I mean, I believe that there's an explanation to it, based on positioning, and but I think, like what what Klopp was saying after the match, that just because he did not ask them to change anything, he didn't change the formation, nothing. It was just like, just do more, do what you're supposed to be doing.
At one point, you saw him screaming on the sideline.
Be brave.
Brave.
Yeah. They were not doing that, and obviously, I'm not gonna, pinpoint, players, and they were not doing what they were supposed to be doing, and all of that stuff, because it happens. This is not the first time. It's not going to be the last time. It's just it's expected at times. But yeah, it was a great match. I enjoyed it. Second half, not the first half. I did not enjoy the first half.
So I'll come to you next, Daz. But I do think this is an appropriate point to introduce big chances and expected goals. Because this is interesting. This really is interesting.
Well, so it depends on which one you're looking at. But
so there's like the XG is basically even. It's like depending on who you
0.99 to 0.109, 3 big chances to 0.
3 big chances to 0. Yes.
So I was gonna make a comment on that, which it doesn't make sense to me, because I don't understand how that first Phil Foden chance wasn't a big chance. But I guess they didn't mark it a big chance, even though it was their highest percentage chance in the game, but they didn't mark it a big chance for some reason. It was much higher than the goal that Salah scored. But the interesting thing about XG is at halftime, it was 0.75 to 0.03. We created basically nothing in the first half, and they were getting through. Although, like you said, Paul, I went and watched it back because I don't know why I did it because I wanted to watch the match, but I had a really kind of stressful, busy weekend, and I had to run out to the grocery store when somebody came to my house so that they could be with my wife who had surgery. And so it was right at 11:30 when the match started, and I was going to skip it, and then I got to the grocery store and I couldn't do it. So I got some headphones and was watching the match while I was walking around the grocery store trying to shop. And that first half, I think I shouted under my breath a couple of times. People probably thought I was crazy in the grocery store, but it was just it seemed so bad when you watched it live. But then when I watched it back, it was still bad, but it wasn't quite as bad as it looked. And I think it was what you were talking about, Des, where like we were coming off such a high from that Porto match. We thought we were just going to blow this team away. And it's like, no, this is one of the best teams in the world we're playing. You don't just blow them away. Yeah, there were, I think we can get onto it, but I think there were a lot of different things that don't necessarily explain everything away, but it can help explain why there were some flaws in that first half. That I think we sort of adjusted, but at the same time, I think all we really did was I think we just attacked better in the second half and we weren't turning the ball over as much. That's really all we did differently.
So a couple of things I'd say is one is I really found helpful Neil Atkinson's analysis of he was in the ground and his full chimp was out, was his expression. So all his emotions are all over the place and he felt like the first half was intolerable. Then he went back and it was like, oh, I think I understand what was happening. And I think I understand what was happening thing is after Foden had that chance, the defense dropped.
Yeah, we shit our pants.
And like that's so Van Dijk and
there was Cope's analysis.
I think the rest of the defense started getting scared because Milner was on Foden.
Well, no, there's no one to mark for them either. So Matip and Van Dijk sitting deep. So guess what? You can say basically every midfielder had a lousy game, but the area they had to patrol was like absolutely huge. And there were things about the performance of each of them you could have commented on, but I do think they were given a really hard task. I think Enrique's trying to join us. But I'm sure he's there. Enrique, are you with us?
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My camera is not working.
No worries.
Like it's okay.
Yeah, you don't need to see my ugly mug anyway. You guys don't know.
So just to recap for those podcast listeners who kind of missed a few bits, we've talked about Roger Hunt. We talked about Porto away, which just seems like if we could play Porto away all the time, then it would be too easy. And we're talking about the City game now. And Haitham started on the path of the first half felt terrible. And I think we were kind of going down this path of, if you looked at it back, it wasn't as bad as you might think. And maybe we weren't as great in the second half as it looked like. But for long periods, especially in the second half, I thought we compacted the space when City had the ball. And the problem was we didn't do that when we were 2-1 ahead. So Enrique, thoughts? Manchester City.
So actually, I do want to touch on that first. I was actually saying out loud to nobody in particular, but I was a little upset with how harsh they were being on us in the first half. Not that we were great in the first half, but I do think the commentary team was definitely overstating how bad it was, because they didn't have too many clear-cut chances, or at least, we were handling most of what was coming our way comfortably. Granted, Milner was, being given the time of his life by a kid half his age, but there's not much else to say about the first half. You forget that quickly, and I think it says a lot more about us how we turned around in the second half. So,
I think that might have been colored by the fact that was on our patch, and people aren't used to seeing us getting the runaround quite like that. And again, you have to, and we talked about this. You have to give City their due. This is one of the best. They are probably the best team in the world at keeping the ball away from other players and remaining press resistant while playing an unbelievable. And I think that Atkinson mentioned this as well. It's not necessarily their press, but they were like a 3-5-2 out of possession. So everything that was going, Haitham, this is what you were talking about. Everything that we put into the midfield was coming straight back at us because we couldn't turn into any type of space. And then we were trying to patrol so much. And I think we lost. Some guys just kind of switched off for that split second. And that's all that it took. You're like, oh, Christ, we lost the ball again. And then you have to be on your bike to try and close up space. And I think this is a game where and I don't like to look backwards, but I think that this would have been a Gini Wijnaldum game.
Mm-hmm.
He's just so much more wily about holding on to the ball when we probably needed that extra and he used to drive me nuts, but it was really tough to get the ball off of him. And if we needed him to just to give us a breather, just to be able to maybe hold someone off, to allow someone to move into a different space, he would have offered you that option. And I love Curtis Jones, and he's got a huge ceiling, but that was a masterclass by a masterful team, and it's something that he's going to learn from. Like, I don't think that he will. He won't play like that again in a game of that against a team of that caliber. Like, he will have learned. It's an invaluable lesson for him, and the fact that Klopp left him in for that long tells you A, that he values him as a player, and B, that he wasn't going to ruin him by pulling him off. And honestly, I'm not sure what Naby Keita would have offered, because Naby sometimes kind of, and this is my one concern with him, is he just stops. Like, and when he's going back, sometimes he just lets a guy run past him and he stops. Now, for me, that could be something that's calculated, because we back ourselves to win our one-on-one battles. That's another, like, we are supremely confident with one another. I believe that we will win one-on-one battles, and that kind of killed us yesterday. Fabinho lost more than a few that we're so used to him not. It was almost as kind of similar to the way he was getting breezed by in the Real Madrid game, the first one on their patch. It wasn't the best performance. And again, you could argue that the midfield didn't cover themselves in glory, especially in the first half. And then portions in the second half where we needed to make it tighter, where you'd expect him to take a leg or two or maybe three out to make sure that people weren't getting past him. He missed a couple of those battles, and in some instances they were catastrophic is a really tough word, but they were really telling. So I consulted the juniper berries the night before, and it was maybe too long of a consultation. But the next morning, I will tell you this: they do wonders for inner chimps. So it almost had like this detached surreality watching the game. I was like, we could have definitely been better there. There might have been a harumph and some suspender snapping. It was really weird, but I actually managed to watch the game like without getting super emotional, which is it never happened. So it was more like the cold light of day looking at it than like kind of that heated, like heart rate elevated. Yeah. But until Salah scored, then I was running around pretty much like a chimp.
Yeah. For me, so one more thing that I want to say about the game. When I say it was the first half was terrible, I still think it wasn't as bad as the Brentford match, because collectively we defended way better. The Brentford match, I was just like, what is going on? I don't even know. I mean, and you could tell, okay, a goal is coming. At least that was, what was coming to my mind. But even, just wanted to say, even though I did not enjoy the first half, I think from a defensive standpoint, it was a better half than the Brentford match. And the frustrating part was just giving the ball up.
So Haitham, I'm going to go with a prediction here. By the way, my prediction about United not getting 90 points is looking pretty good right now. So I'm going to go with another one, which is Ivan Toney is going to score against Manchester City at some point this season.
Oh, I like that.
I think they are more dangerous. So I don't know if you saw them against West Ham. They're a much more dangerous team than a lot of other teams that are in the Premier League.
Yeah, they look like they could potentially finish top half. I mean, the way they've been playing,
Yeah, I don't think we should.
They're probably better than people realize.
Yeah, they remind me of Leeds from last year. You don't know what's going to hit you.
Right.
And I think, it's just like any team that gets promoted, it's going to take them a year or two, and then people will figure them out. And they might.
The other thing I want to say is that Phil Foden chance, it came off of Bernardo Silva thinking he was Diego Maradona for about a couple minutes. People forget about that. I hate him. I absolutely hate him. But he had a very, very good game. Credit where it's due. And I thought Foden had a pretty good game too, and you may I don't know if you disagree, Paul. I thought Foden. It seemed to me like they were kind of playing Foden almost like they used to play Sané, where he was just playing that wide left role and just trying to give our right back hell the entire match, and it was working pretty well. And frankly, James Milner got a lot of flack for this match. I think he played really well. I mean, he's not a right back. He's filling in as a backup. He's 35 years old. He was lucky not to be sent off. I mean, I'll give him that. But I don't know. I mean, what else do you want? I think our defense held up pretty well. The problem was that they were just getting through our midfield too easily, which has happened a couple times this season. And the goals and the chances they created came from great play. So sometimes you just got to tip your cap, But I thought the other thing I wanted to say is that I thought Jack Grealish was awful, and I thought City's defense wasn't particularly good either. So I do think they can be got at. But
so much to unpack in that, Sean. So much. Their defense might not be the best in the world, but I don't think that anyone's had a shot on target in the last 5 games against them.
No, I thought in that second half we looked like we could cut them open relatively easy.
I think that says something about how good we are.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, neutral. That game was as promised.
It
was breathless. It was end to end. Like there was dominant. Like there was ascendancy and dominance on each side. It was like if you're a neutral, like that is what you like. If you're look, I'll say this: if most Salah's goals should be sent into space. If aliens ever come across like what humans are capable of, that's the fucking thing that they should. Sorry, you have to press the button. That's the thing that they'll be like, Jesus, we don't want to invade there. This guy could be there.
He was unreal, and the first goal, was mostly. I mean, it was a great finish by Mane.
So it was a great team effort to be.
But he was amazing on that first goal too.
Yeah. That Mane guy who can't score needs 50 chances to score that goal.
What's that?
That Mane guy who needs 50 chances to score a goal.
Oh, no, I mean that was a class finish. That one. He didn't even really have to look up. He knew where he was. He knew where the goalie was. He just looked down and put it where it needed to go.
Every single one of those were pinpoint position. Except for maybe De Bruyne's, because if you look at that shot from De Bruyne, Ali had it covered.
Oh yeah, Ali was saving that all the way. Yeah.
So unfortunate on Monty, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
So Enrique, I'm sure you're trying to get a word in edgewise.
Good luck.
I almost want to go back to Curtis Jones. Like you said, there's a lot to unpack there. I think Foden. Like I agree with you, Sean. I think Foden is legit. Personally, I think Foden already looks better than Sané ever did for Manchester City. I'm not sure. Sané was Foden's a little bit more direct, I think, and he looks a little braver. I'm not sure how old Sané was. If they're at similar ages when he was playing for City, but I don't remember Sané ever putting as much. Now, granted, we had Milner back there, but I don't remember Sané ever putting as much fear in me as Foden did that past game. And you want to talk about the game being breathless? I think I counted 5 times during the match that my Apple Watch told me to breathe. So that's a true story. I wish I had actually taken.
I don't know why it wasn't.
I should have taken the timestamp so I could have gone back and seen exactly what moments it was. But yeah, 5 times it told me to breathe.
35 to 45 happened at least 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm sure my heart rate was pretty high during that first half.
Juniper berries, boys. Juniper berries.
Until Salah scored.
Distilled. With some botanicals.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it never disappoints. You're right, Taz. I mean, the last few years, these matches are always fun to watch. Unfortunately, fortunately for us, we get to be supporting one of the teams that's in it. But since we're not neutrals, it's probably not as exciting of a neutral match for us to watch.
If you are neutral, it's a treat.
Yeah,
especially like I said in the chat. I mean, you compare it to the Chelsea City matchups where
it's hard. Yeah, that was hard. Yeah.
Like imagine if that was the rivalry for the last 5 seasons. You know,
A lot of the times when we play United, it's not really a great match. It's like kind of a cagey match, you know. But these matches are always like that.
Oh, that's another big topic that we don't want to get into.
Yeah.
But we will get there in 2 weeks when we preview playing Ole. Oh, if he's still the manager, I don't know. But of course,
Hopefully.
Hopefully he's going to be the manager. So let's do some last thoughts on the game. One thing you might wanted to change. One thing that you thought. So by the way, Enrique, you said that Sean thought Foden was a great player. I don't know that Sean necessarily thinks Foden is. Maybe he thinks Foden's better than Grealish.
I mean, I don't think he's quite as good as Sane was for them yet, but I think, you know, I think he's got all the potential to be a great player. He's getting there. He seems to be a very good finisher. I mean, that finish for the goal was pretty class. People were criticizing Ali, and I don't know.
Inside the post.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty great finish. So that, you know, and again, like that goal was a great goal. We got unlucky for their second, but that was a really well worked goal by them. And you know, you can criticize some of our players, but somebody was saying also, if you look at our goals and you were a City fan, you could criticize their defenders too. I mean, Salah went right past 4 of their defenders to score that goal, but you know, so yeah, they're a very good team. I mean, it's frustrating we didn't get the win, but you know, as bad as we were in the first half, it was fortunate that we went in tied. So
Foden needs to bin his haircut. Diabolical.
So I do think there is, and I want to go back to Enrique, but I do think there is
the bald guy
separating that they're a very good football team. They have some like objectionable characters playing for them, like Walker, Bernardo Silva. I mean, that man, there's something wrong with him. But anyway, let's not even talk about the other players that play for them that are not playing for them right now. Enrique.
Yeah, so I mean, my final thoughts on it are, we just went up what's either the best or second best team in all of Europe and had a terrible first half and didn't concede. And then we were able to turn it around in the second half. And I thought we were the better team in the second half easily. They were, as you said, fortunate to get that second goal. You know, the response for the first equalizer was good, but, you know, like I said, they're at the very least a top 2 team in Europe right now, and we should be proud of that performance. We should be proud of that performance off of how bad we looked in the beginning, right? So I think if we were up against any other team, I think we walk out of there with a win, despite that first half. But yeah, I mean, you just got to praise the mental fortitude of this team again, and the mental fortitude of Milner, especially because after the beating he took in the first 30-45 minutes, you know, a lot of other players could have just completely collapsed or been substituted at halftime by their manager, as I'm sure a lot of people were actually probably yelling for. But Milner, you know, he didn't let it bug him. He stuck to his task, and I think he actually got better at handling everything that was coming at him as the game progressed, and until his legs probably literally couldn't run any further, and he did have to get substituted. But you can't forget how old he is, and he's playing out of position. And you know, I give full props to Milner for not completely collapsing under the onslaught that he had to face down that right flank.
Any final words about the City game? I just want to do a quick look ahead.
No one mentioned anything about the Fab chance towards the end.
Oh yeah, geez.
Yeah.
Although
I think just give full credit to Roger.
On second look, that was it wasn't as easy of a chance as it looks. You know, we look at the freeze frame, you know.
Yeah.
If that had fallen to Mo Salah, it was in the back of the net, or if it had come bouncing out 35 yards out of goal, Fabinho would have finished it.
Yeah, I don't think he looked, actually. I think he just hit it. I mean, he might have seen, you know, the wide open goal, but I don't think while he's hitting it, he was looking at the goal. But I agree with you. Had it been a striker, it would have been in, you know, the top of the net.
especially a guy with a left foot.
But yeah,
Yeah.
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 So his problem was he had to control it first, whereas
Right.
if you were Salah,
he
probably.
didn't have to, but yeah, for a right-footed player, like, and I think he was look, it flew off, like it flew over someone's head. He was like,
Yeah.
what? Oh, yay!
Right. Yeah. I really enjoyed Pep's tantrum also. That was funny. On the sideline, throwing his coat.
I'm telling you, he was trying to promote that new
Check out my
clothing
new
line.
brand.
What
By
the
the way,
hell is
Yeah.
that brand anyway, though? Because it doesn't look that
I
good.
don't know.
It's I did actually do a little research into it. It's nothing interesting. It's just like some brothers out of Manchester that's their well, I don't know if it's an acronym or something at MDCR, but yeah, Pep's have partnered with them and they have a whole clothing line with the melted badge and all that.
Gosh.
So is Pep? No, I don't even want to.
I'm telling you, he knew the
That's why
cameras were going to
it's
be on him at that point, and he's like, "I'm going to sell some sweaters here."
I had no idea. Yeah. So he's a part owner of that brand.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny.
So we can win this league, right?
Yeah.
but in the Mo Salah we can. He's going to put this team up on his prodigious shoulders and carry us over the line.
Mo Salah, yes.
So I heard in January he's gonna miss two matches. Him and Mane. Possibly Naby. Is Naby is Guinea in the
Naby Keita will be in the the African Cup of Nations.
So who we're playing? Does
There-
anyone know?
we're
Burnley
missing
and
two
Crystal
league
Palace.
matches and
Brentford and Crystal Palace.
yeah.
And the Brentford one now was worrying, right? Because they had looked like a team.
Yeah.
But Crystal Palace will lose Zaha for the Cup of Nations. So
Oh, yeah.
That said, if Brentford fall off by January, is anybody surprised?
I would be.
ooh, yeah.
Yeah,
would
me
be.
too. Me too. Yeah.
Don't you call
I mean, Ivan Toney looks like the real deal to me. I couldn't
And
believe
it's-
how many headers he was winning in that
The,
match.
the other striker, I thought
His
he was
partner
more-
Embuemo
Yeah,
as well.
Mbeumo, yeah,
I wouldn't be
Mbeumo.
mad to have Embuemo sitting on our bench. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Also, you guys are forgetting that we're getting Yves Bissouma in January, and that's who's going to replace Mo up front. So, according to the Echo, so we got it covered, man. We got it covered.
Yeah. So let's not look that far ahead because that's just disturbing. We have 2 weeks off thanks to the fucking stupid international break.
You just off an F-bomb? Yay!
I think you did already. So
So
like,
closely together. Yeah. It's
It's the first time I've ever heard you drop.
and by the way,
You're like a
Juve.
proud parent.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't live in our house frequently enough to. And Juve is still shit, by the way. We were talking about this last week in Porto. Sorry if my friend who's the Juve fans listening. Watford away, 7:30 kickoff. Well, at least East Coast time. 6:30 kickoff, Haitham.
Yep.
Doesn't look like we'll have a couple of Brazilians. We may not have Mane, based on the Red Country quarantine crap that's going on in the UK.
But they could still play, but they have to quarantine away from families
No, so I think the issue with the Brazilians is worse because they play a game like
on Thursday night. Yeah.
yeah. I think the issue might be not the same with the other players like Mane. But the issue would be for Watford if Mane's can't play, no can Ismail Schmar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I almost say that impacts them worse than us, right?
That would, yes.
Yeah, it's their talisman. And
Yeah, but they're going again. I don't want to make a prediction because, like I said, I put my foot in my mouth the last time. But they're gonna have some sort of bounce. New manager bounce.
Yeah.
I mean, at the rate they go, Renier might be sacked by the time we play them anyway. So
Oh, that's great. That's great.
That does worry me a little bit that we might catch their new manager bounce.
What was that tweet that I sent you? By the year 2035, 1 in 5 adults
Yeah.
will be manager of Watford.
this does happen every year, though, right? We always go up against a new manager team like every season.
It seems to happen to us a lot. Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm like Claudio Ranieri. Really? Are we thinking he's gonna get a new manager bounce?
He's still
I
a
think so. I
quality
mean,
player.
they had the last time. When was it? A couple of years ago.
He
We-
managed Fulham.
we played them right after they sacked their manager and got what's his name? English coach.
Pearson.
Starts with Pearson, yeah, Nigel Pearson.
Mhm.
And they drew with us that day. And it was again the manager bounced. So it's I don't know, it's expected.
Are you sure they drew with us?
I think yeah. When Pearson took over, I remember it.
I feel like I feel like it was at that game and that they played very well, but we beat them 2-0 and Salah scored twice.
I don't know. My memory tells me that they drew with us.
It's not good, is it? We should have got our facts straight before the conversation.
We're
That's
ruthless.
what people are paying for.
I think we're too ruthless. We're ruthless enough for Watford. I'm not terribly worried.
Enrique, you might be the new Sean with those types.
I'll tell you what. Here's a
predictions.
bold prediction.
Coming to
for
your
you.
house next.
I think Chelsea will struggle away to Brentford more than we'll struggle away to Watford. How's that for a prediction?
All right, I like it.
So I have a Brentford theory actually, which is they are like incessant for 75 minutes. They run out of energy. And you saw on Saturday, I think West Ham equalized against them, but then somehow they get this extra energy with like 5 minutes to go.
It's the guy that they sub in. He scored. Yeah, he scored the third goal against us. He just came in, scored, and did the same thing against West Ham.
Yeah. So they know they're gonna be like exhausted, and they like sneak on this extra guy. Anyway, I think you're right, Enrique. I'd go for that actually. As for and I don't know if you heard my other prediction, which is I think Ivan Toney will score against Man City.
I like that one.
He's going to look good in red next year.
Yeah,
Never know. We thought Ismail Sarr was coming too, and that didn't happen. So
it still may happen, Sean. Still may happen.
yeah, it still could. Still could.
So are we running out of energy? One last thought. We'll go around one more time, and we'll start with Enrique. We're in second place. We're a point behind the like Chelsea, which we could go 2 ways.
yeah. I'm not buying this table. The table looks so ridiculous when you consider between us and City, we're just head and shoulders above the rest. So the fact that Chelsea are ahead, and I don't know, I think it's important to remember, we're still undefeated in all competitions. I think it's undefeated in 19 going back to last season, something like that. It's no other team in this league can say anything like that. I think we're in good shape. I think it benefits everybody else that we're entering an international break right now, because I love the flow we're going with, and I think we're in the zone. I don't know. I look at this team and these players, and I think we're ready for it this season. I think we're really going to go for it. And I'll tell you what, I think Ronaldo and Lukaku entering this league has only motivated Salah more. I think Mo would love nothing more than to beat Ronaldo for the Golden Boot, and I think he is going to really go for it this year. And if he has to score another 30+ goals for us, then I say more power to him.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Awesome.
And
So
we're watching the king right now. We're watching greatness. So just enjoy every moment of it.
We've not done enough chat about all of the news outlets who suddenly decided that Salah's the best player in the world and are denying they ever thought it was anything.
Yeah, it's funny how that changed, isn't it?
Well, it was when he hit that 100-goal mark. It's so stupid.
Maybe that's
He
what
got to 100
Facebook
goals,
said.
and all of a sudden they realized what a great player he was.
I think maybe that's how Facebook went down today, because it melted down with that news.
Yeah. So if you're looking at this back in history, Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram were out for 12 hours at least today. Seems a fair explanation that might have been commentary about Salah that was the cause of all that.
Oh, my one thing is, just to shoehorn my way in there, some Muppet put up saying like that's not even the best goal that was scored at Anfield. It was by Eden Hazard. I'm like, it wasn't even like, it was a good goal. It wasn't even in the same stratosphere. Like it was. It's like, are you so desperate? Like, yes, we'll give it its due, but like someone else said, is like, just be happy that it happened. But still, Salah's was much better.
Mm-hmm.
Don't cry. Was it don't cry because Salah's was better? Just be happy that Hazard's actually happened.
Is that the guy who's struggling on the bench at Real Madrid right now? By the way, just
He's not struggling. He's struggling to keep his hands off the pies. Apparently, like the
Is it the pies or is it
even on the bench.
Well calculated
cheap-
move by anyone who
cheap
goes to
Spanish wine.
retire in La Liga, right? Go get your big paycheck and then, yeah, you know,
eat pies.
yeah.
Long may it continue. I'm sure Haitham, you're very excited about how well the Spanish teams are doing. But final thought.
But I love what I'm seeing nowadays. I'm on cloud nine. What's happening today? Spanish teams and Spanish football. But my point is about the table, because Enrique was talking about it and how he thinks it doesn't look right. I love the way the table looks nowadays and wanted to continue the same way until January, because I don't know, 8 times I think we were top of the table. Come January, we only won it once. So I want it to be this way. I don't want us to be first until 2022, and then we can go from there.
I think we have the ignominious distinction of being the only team that's actually lost it, being ahead on the 1st of January.
Yeah, we won it once, which was 2019-20. All the other times, 13, I think, when was it? 98 maybe. I saw the stat and it was like probably 5 out of 6 times that we lost.
There've been some extenuating circumstances, I would say, in some of that, but yeah.
I don't think it works that way, Paul.
No,
we don't need to be there.
We get 97 points and don't win it. That's like nobody. That's just nobody's going to do that ever again.
And then you don't have 27 people go down in one season either.
Yeah. So Sean, I think you've had 5 final words, but I'll give you one more.
No, I think I agree with everybody. I think we look great right now. I think, I think we look a lot more like 2018, 2019, 2020 than we did last year. I think it was, like I thought all along it was a fluky year. We had a lot of injuries and we're kind of back to where we were for the most part. I thought yesterday it was interesting. In that first half, it was almost like we forgot how good we are after they got that big chance. And
wasn't a big chance, just close to a big chance.
Should have been a big chance.
Big chance adjacent.
Their XG was less than 1. You should know that, Sean.
It wasn't. It was actually higher than that.
That was a test. That was a test.
Ours was higher.
I think it was 3.6. No, seriously though, I think we look great. We'll be right there. I'm still kind of feeling the same way that I did before the season started, where it'll be kind of close between us and City. I'm glad that they didn't sign a striker because I think that will probably hurt them at some point. Not having that ruthless goal scorer up front, playing Jack Grealish as a false 9 yesterday was a little odd. And Chelsea, again, Chelsea's shown, they haven't shown a lot of cracks yet, but they don't look quite as dominant as I think a lot of people want to describe them. They still don't create very much. And they don't score much. Their defense is still very good, but I think I could see them getting a number of draws and dropping points this year. So as long as, knock on wood, as long as our defense can stay healthy, especially, I'm optimistic for the rest of the way. But I do hate the international break, especially this close back to back. Just seems so stupid. But
quick question before everyone goes: do we think anyone will get over 90 points in the league this year?
No,
that's a good question. I would have said yes a couple of weeks ago. Now I'm not sure, but I think us and City will be around there. I don't know if we'll get over, but it'll be close.
I still think it's possible for Liverpool and City.
Yeah.
Enrique?
I'm guessing right now. I say no. I think if I'm guessing right now, I think it's going to be 86 to 88, and there's going to be 2 teams there, and which two I'm going to say, and I think it's going to be Chelsea around 82, 83 point, and United around 76.
Well, Ole's 2 points a game is guaranteed.
Yeah. And 0.96. That was City's XG.
I said it. Less than
No
one.
big chances. Okay, on that note, wow, can't believe we ended next week. So, Enrique, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Haitham, Daz, Short, as usual, this was wonderful. We will be back in 2 weeks to talk about the game against Watford and the upcoming games against away to Atletico Madrid and Manchester United, which once upon a time would have filled me with a lot of fear. But I think we're in good shape. So thank you. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with a friend. Follow us on Twitter. We are only tweeting things that matter. Thank you.